going.
I know. I because the hard laws that are going to stop the getting adopted.
Okay.
And they should get priority.
That's right.
I'm gonna make a direct response.
Hey, Ruth. So, is this a pre-meeting to the General Assembly that happens at 7:30?
Basically, this is a committee meeting. There are about 30 committees who are formally associated with the Occupy movement, or Occupy LA in particular. This is a facilitation committee we put on the General Assembly every night. So the point of the General Assembly and the point of the whole movement is we're working on finding a way to make decisions via participatory democracy. So you want everybody, the people involved in decision making. Like today we have senators and we have congressmen who don't represent people because they have other interests like lobbying groups, they have like money pushed together and corporations are involved in it. This is all about bringing the power back to the people. What's happening now is they're holding a discussion that you put proposals on every night, then the assembly questions everything, and then they can either reach a resolution, or what usually happens is like the proposal will be met with counter proposals, or will be tabled for a later meeting because it needs more discussion, it needs to be worked on later, and everything has to be consensus, which means everybody votes on it. If anybody hard blocks, which is like the classic hand thing,
Oh, yeah.
that means the proposal is blocked.
Wow. So, I see you're holding your cute little dog there, but I've heard last night that there's a number of different gestures that people use like that. There's a hard block one, and then there's one where they wave their fingers, sort of.
This is for agreement. This means that you agree with whatever the person's saying, that it's like you vote on the resolution, that's like that. So it's basically sign language for agreement. The hard block is cross hands like that, and that really should be rare. It basically means that somebody is proposing something that you think is really dangerous to the movement. It could like, it doesn't represent people, it puts the movement in jeopardy. It means that if you hard block something, it means if this resolution passes, I'm walking away from this movement. I don't agree with it anymore. So one of the reasons, like last night, they tabled the motion, they tabled the motion to turn it into a 501c4. Now, I don't know if you know about that, but that's basically a non-profit group, which it would be a non-profit corporation, but it's not tax exempt, so we pay tax on everything that, all the donations that people give us. It would mean that we would be considered a social welfare movement, like MoveOn.org, or like a lobbying group. And I hard block that because I don't think it's what this is about. We should not be a corporation. We definitely shouldn't be like paying tax on donations which is being used to like provide food, water, and healthcare. And also those donations, if that went through, they would be, it's anonymous, and that's not what we're about. It's about transparency. Everything's about transparency. All the minutes of our meetings are put up on the website. Everybody talks in public, like decisions that, like, you can't, the finance committee who proposed that proposal, they couldn't go away and just do that without talking to the General Assembly, because it's all about participatory democracy. It's like, if a motion doesn't get passed, it gets like discussed and counter-proposed until people reach absolute agreement with consensus.
So once it reaches that point, if it reaches consensus and a number of proposals are passed, does that get fed over to? Is there a hub where New York and Vegas and Chicago and around the globe, I mean, is there a transfer center where all these things are feeding into so that we can...
No, there's no transfer center. What actually happens is people just put everything on the internet. Everything's transparent. So, I'm sure, people in New York probably do call up people in LA and vice versa, but we don't make decisions, globally. Yes, we adopt, their principles. So, for example, Occupy Wall Street drafted a document which is called the Principles of Solidarity. We adopted that document and we read it out in General Assembly. We had everyone vote on it as a consensus, and then we adopted it in solidarity with Wall Street. But we weren't told by Wall Street, you must take this to an Occupy movement. That's not what the movement is about. Every Occupy movement is completely different, but they stand in solidarity with each other, you know?
Interesting. What are the top three things that you personally would like to see happen in a world of change or What can we hope to? What would you like to see?
In America, I'd like to see them abolish or audit the Federal Reserve. I'd like to see them overturn Citizens United, and I'd like to see everybody have healthcare. Or access to healthcare. Because I'm from England, and obviously my father's a doctor. Like, I grew up with the NHS. Everybody has access to healthcare there. The taxes aren't any higher than they are over here. I know we're a different country. I know we have different concerns. But, like, I've seen it work. I've seen it happen. The healthcare I've received in England has been far superior to the healthcare I've received over here. Having insurance. And then when I didn't have insurance, I got hit with a bill for $5,000 to go to the emergency room. When I gave my father that itemized bill, he said, like, he went through the list, and like the $5,000 bill I received, he said this probably cost $90. Like the meds you received, the treatment you received, the time, everything, it probably cost $90.
Is that changing in England and in Europe?
They are. They're trying to. The Conservative government has come in and they're trying to enforce cuts. I actually don't know too much about it, like what exactly the Conservative government are proposing. But I know, like, one thing I really disapprove of is they're making, like, fees for universities, like, enormous now. I think it's £9,000 a year, which is about $12,000 a year, which sounds nothing for an American university. But for England, my education was free, completely free. My university education cost me nothing. I went to Cambridge University. I think, you know, so I strongly disagree with that. I do think the NHS needs pruning in a way. I think, like, for example, in Wales, which is kind of considered, they have devolution, so they have a separate parliament, they get free prescriptions, so nobody has to pay for any medication whatsoever. But the money for that comes from schools. So schools in Wales are severely underfunded because they're, like, being paid for prescription costs, which is wrong. Everybody should contribute towards the cost of, like, whatever script, whatever med they're getting. So.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Is there anything else you'd like to recap with?
Not really. You guys should stay around for the General Assembly, though, because it will be interesting.
Oh, I'm definitely here for it.
Starts at 7:30.
Yeah, the 501c4.
Why don't they make it 501c3?
Well, I don't know. This is my argument with them. What I think has happened is, like, basically the finance committee are, they're great people. They're very well educated. They probably voted for Obama. They're very liberal. They're all tax accountants, and they're all, like, kind of in the system, and they don't quite understand that this is a people's movement, I think. And I think that's why they're claiming it as a 501c4. I don't understand why they're not doing it as a 3.
Is this nationwide? Is this, where is this based? Is it here in LA?
Yeah.
Okay, so like New York, the Wall Street, Occupation Wall Street would have a different ruling. Maybe they're a 501c3.
No, they're not. I asked them. Well, basically, they channel. What I think we should do, first of all, is not take financial donations whatsoever. We have a list of things that we need. We need tents, we need water, we need food.
In-kind contributions, food,
Yeah,
water,
so
tents,
you can do that.
medical supplies, whatever.
Drop that off. People do need to be reimbursed. Like, if they spend like $100 on flyers and can't afford that, yeah, they need to be reimbursed. But what Wall Street's done is they've teamed up with the Alliance for Global Justice, which is 501c3. All their financial donations go through the Alliance for Global Justice, and then it goes back to Wall Street when they need it. So I think we should do that, because I think we're a movement. We're 3 weeks old, 3.5 weeks old. New York is what, like 6 weeks old now? We're really new. I don't think we should define now. And especially as
Do you think it may be a little premature?
Yeah, we shouldn't define it.
So these CPAs and accountants that you're talking about that are recommending a 501c4, where are they now? Are they in this group right here?
No, this is just facilitation. This is for, like, this group puts on the General Assembly and like, proposes the order of duty, or the order of the day. So we talk, like, there's a specific order, and it changes all the time, but basically it starts with a welcome. We read out the principle of solidarity. Then we take announcements from other committees. Then we take announcements from individuals. Then we start with proposals. And proposals are like actions or statements which we want Occupy LA to adopt and endorse. They're not like, for example, it was used wrongly last week when somebody said, I propose that Occupy LA goes and there's a candlelight vigil for this kid who got hit by a car. Which is a great idea, but it really doesn't need to be discussed. That's a crock of shit. If you want to go and stand there, and hold a little candle for a dead kid, that's fine, go do it. But you really don't need Occupy LA to go out en masse to do that. You can do that on your own, So it's all this is all about, trying to find a way to actually, and we learn from our mistakes. So the mainstream media has been doing things like training their cameras on tents at 4 a.m. and then talking about oh my God, look at this, it's a completely empty campsite, there are no people here. And it's it's 4 a.m, everybody's asleep.
People sleep inside the tent.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So this is, and I looked at Fox News and Glenn Beck has been saying we're anarchists, we're going to drag everyone in the streets and kill them.
But they've never been down here to even talk to anybody or actually see what's going on.
Not really, we don't have a lot of media here, it's quite interesting.
Did you see the segment from the woman who was seriously? Did you see her?
No.
Oh, God. Erin, what was her name?
Oh, the one from CNBC. Erin Bennett or something.
Yeah.
She's really, yeah.
Oh, my God.
And she talked to that guy, she said something about, did you know that all the money that we used in the bailout actually went back to taxpayers, and she's gotten all the maths completely wrong. That doesn't surprise me.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Are you, today's Sunday, October the 16th. Are you curious to see if the markets are going to go down in the banking industry? Are you thinking of maybe short selling? Looking some put options on Bank of America and making some money on their demise?
No, I have absolutely no interest in finance, playing the financial market. I have to be honest, I know nothing about it. I'm a writer and a journalist, and I don't look at finance at all. But I do things I'm with Chase Bank at the moment. I'm going to go away, I'm going to close my account with Chase, and then I'm going to open a credit union account.
Excellent. Credit union account. Excellent.
Yeah.
In fact, I posted something on my Facebook wall today where there are credit unions that pay you to use their service.
Really?
Yeah.
God, that sounds great.
Yeah, you can interest earning, no fees. There's a number of great reasons, and they're with you to bank transfer day.
Oh, that's is it November 1st?
Yeah, that's transfer day. So I'm thinking that people are going to be starting to short the market. I'm kind of curious to see if there's money to be made on the demise of the banks. Myself, might as well get some of our money back and fees, and because Bank of America is starting to charge fees now for using their own.
$5
really crazy.
And Chase Bank as well. I think the whole feeling about
Chase, when I went to Chase a couple days ago, because I'm with Chase, and I asked them that very question. They were aware of what Bank of America was doing, and they say, no, we're not doing it. But then again, that was a week ago.
Yeah, so you never know with these banks.
Chase your money is what
they're chasing.
I can't remember who said it, but it was a politician recently who said that the banks are actually losing money, and we should feel really sorry for all of them because they're not making any money whatsoever. And I'm like, are you serious?
I think they should close and restructure or do something that there's no excuse. I mean, they're taking our money. They can invest it in 1,001 different methods without you even knowing what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, if you wanted to pull, let's say you had $20 million and you put it into a bank.
Yeah.
Most likely they would not even be able to give you that money if you demanded it.
Yeah.
Because they don't have it. They're only legally required to hold 10%. And the other money could be dispersed. It's fiat currency. It's a sham. They're not regulated to have that money. I mean, if everybody demanded to take their money out of the bank at any one time, the banks would completely collapse. They couldn't pay off because they don't have it. The money doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It's on paper.
So, and that's how we got into this whole problem.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre. I think the whole point of the movement is we're not anti-business at all. We support small businesses. We're anti. I wouldn't even say we're anti-corporation. We're anti. I can't even talk now. I'm so tired.
Anti-May?
We're anti-corruption.
Anti-corruption.
Anti-corruption and anti-concentration of power in the hands of the 1% who have too much of it. They have too much power. They have too much money. They have too much power because they have too much money.
Have you considered what life may be like if you were on the other side of the fence and you were part of the 1%? Would you?
Well, it's interesting you say that because some of my last boyfriend was very, very rich, and he does a lot of financial stock exchange, all this kind of stuff which I stayed well away from. And he's in support of the movement. And I think there are a lot of people, if you walk around, there are signs saying, I'm in the top, probably top 10% most people are, and I support this movement. And I think that's it. People want to see fairness. You don't want to take wealth away from people, but there are so many people out there, especially in the top 1%, who they're not just wealthy, they're stinky, loaded, rich. and they're using that money to like further their own gains, you know, their own political gains, their own economic gains.
They're out of touch.
Yeah, completely out of touch. So it's interesting because I don't think they're necessarily like evil, horrible like people or anything like that. People are people and they act in exactly the same way. These people just want to protect their families and their homes. It's just like they can't quite see that they don't need like 20 mansions across the world.
Well, I think what you're talking about is the 1% of the 1%. I mean, there are employees of these large corporations that are like you and I, that have a job, that have a mortgage to pay, that may have to pay payments on a car, they may have an unstable future, people that work for Chase, people that work for GM, or whatever it may be. But I think you're referring to is really maybe the chairman of the board, the CEO, the CFO, the board of directors, and the cronies inside the, the central areas of these top corporations.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that... And, who knows? I mean, are they listening?
I think they are listening because there is a Gandhi quote, which I'm sure you know, which is, at first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win. So they ignored us, then they started laughing at us and like poking fun and doing all these media tactics and calling us anarchists and anti-capitalists and like we're all stoners and we all do drugs, which is absolutely wrong. There's like an NA meeting which goes on in 10:50 every evening. Like NA, Narcotics Anonymous.
Oh.
Yeah, there's a Narcotics Anonymous meeting which goes on every night. Like, you don't see people drunk. I find this amazing coming from England where everyone calls out pubs at 11 o'clock and they're all like vomiting in the gutter. I've walked around here, I never see anybody drunk. Sure, there's a lot of cigarettes around. Yes, there's the occasional like sniff of weed or whatever, but people on the whole are just really passionate about getting involved in democracy and having their voices heard, and it's working. And I think people are starting to get quite scared. I mean, our movement has been very peaceful. We haven't had problems with the police. They've been amazing with us. We've worked really well with the city council. New York has had a lot of problems, and it's been a lot more confrontational. But because they've been confrontational in a way, it's been to their advantage. We've had a lot of covert problems, like a lot of people coming in, and we had a DDoS attack. I don't know if you know that. Distributed denial of service.
What is that?
It's basically Operations Anonymous. Do you remember those? When WikiLeaks came out, this kind of weird group of hackers, like internet hackers, did a DDoS on things like PayPal and like the bank, where they basically set up a structure that they can hit this site 1 million times from different IP addresses, so that the site gets like lost and like completely waterlogged and breaks down.
Oh wow!
So that happened to us several times. And we don't know where. We looked at the IP addresses, we found out like there was a bunch coming from Eastern Europe, a bunch coming from Europe, and a bunch coming from America.
Oh, you could sniff out where they were coming from?
Yeah.
Do you think it was coming from this building at all?
I have no
I'm kidding.
idea. But they've been great. I wonder how long it'll last. You know?
I know. Well, I think if the crowds were bigger, we'd have a bit of a problem, but it's nice to see that, right across the street from the most state-of-the-art police facility in the country, Homeland Security, anti-terrorism, counterterrorism, this facility right here on 1st and Main Street in downtown Los Angeles. And I saw two police officers that were walking around interested in buying some art, and then there's a police car up the street that there's no cops in. So I was happy to see that, compared to the footage that we've been seeing from New York, and people getting arrested for closing their accounts at Citibank, and what was it, St. Louis? People were being arrested for closing their bank accounts at Bank of America as well now.
Yeah, I saw Citibank. We've actually had a lot of support from the police down here. Like, they've actually pulled up, gone out of their cars, and told us their stories. Like, we met one cop who had been a real estate guy. In the crash, he lost his job, he didn't work anymore, so he retrained and became a police officer.
Interesting.
Yeah, so he's completely in support of it. And obviously they can't march with us, they can't wear their badges, they can't wear their uniforms. But just to know that, like, I don't have any gripe with the police at all. Like, I think some of the tactics they've used in New York have been absolutely brutal and completely out of line.
Yeah.
But on the whole, police are just like us, they have a mortgage to pay, they have kids to bring up, they have the same worries, they worry that their kids aren't getting proper education, they worry because their healthcare. I knew a police officer who was in 9/11 who also went to the Gulf War. He got that terrible lung disease theft off. His insurance is like
unbelievable. What about, now, is it true in New York that some of the police unions were also kind of coming involved, or police have lost their pensions? And I guess that's sort of old news.
Yeah, I don't know actually. I'm really not sure. I've heard about that, but I don't know if they ever actually did it. I think the problem we have as well is like we completely welcome support from unions and we completely welcome support from anybody, like, you know, if Ron Paul wants to support us, that's great, but we're not going to be directly affiliated with Ron Paul or with any kind of trade union or with any kind of movement, because this is about the people. It's about the 99%. It's not about latching on to an existing movement which has its, you know, drawbacks and which has its kind of like ulterior motives, anything like that. Nothing to do with that. It's all about like democratic decision making.
Do you think democracy works?
I think it can be really frustrating. I think trying to work out how a people's assembly works, which is what this committee is for, is like incredibly frustrating. But I think it definitely works. I think it really works.
How about celebrity turnout? Have you seen anyone?
Last week I wasn't here for the weekend, but I heard there was like a bunch of Rage Against the Machine guy came down and blah blah blah. And I heard that Colonel West like got arrested today. Did you hear that?
Where?
Outside DC.
Oh wow.
In DC, in the White House, something like that.
Are you working here?
Yeah, I work for media and I work for the facilitation committee.
Oh, okay.
And I do web stuff and I have a full-time job, so I just dip in and dip out. So.
Would you, I mean, if we really, do you think that protests work? Or how about the idea of using our dollars as votes, where if we don't want to give money, our dollars to the banks or to, say, British Petroleum, like ARCO, like if we were really wanting to make a stand and just for like a week, we take like a National People's Day and nobody goes to work. Managers and city group, you know, just everybody would just, it's something I've been toying around with.
Sit on their sofas and occupy their couch.
We do this. No, we do this. Oh, I'm sorry, puppy. We do this, you know, we have barbecue. And anyway, I was just toying with the idea. I'll have to articulate it a little better.
I think it would be great if people would get off their sofas and join us, but there's a lot of preconceptions and misconceptions. Like, this is full of hippies, like, it's full of people smoking weed, people banging bongo drums. And that, I had the same kind of preconceptions as well until I came down here and saw what they were trying to do. And one of the big things people keep saying is, they don't have any, like, demands. Like, why don't they have any demands? What's going on?
Yeah.
And the whole point is the process. The whole point is the democracy. The whole point is the movement and getting people involved and getting people actively involved in decision making, which they're not right now. You know, we go on a protest and we wave a banner and then we cast a vote, and that's how we participate in democracy right now. It doesn't work because they're not representing our interests.
Yeah. Do you, how do you feel about people not paying taxes anymore?
What, to stop paying taxes?
Yeah, just stop. I mean, if for the normal 9-to-5er works 40 hours a week, you know, throughout the year and gets a week or two off for vacation, 3 months out of the year is work just to pay taxes to IRS, Federal Reserve, you know.
Yeah. Things like that work really great in theory. They're a bit like socialism. They work fantastically well in theory. But in practice, getting everyone to do that would be incredibly hard. Because people are really scared. They're really scared of the IRS. It's like, as the finance committee proved last night when they stood up and they were like, we're paying taxes on all the donations that we receive. You know, because we don't want to get audited by the IRS. But like, people are really, really terrified. With good reason, because they will get audited, they'll get put in jail.
Yeah.
And I think there are, like, the people who don't want to pay taxes won't pay taxes, but you'll never, ever, ever get everyone to stop doing that. They're far too scared.
Closing comment?
I don't have any closing comments. I'm going to go and work on the General Assembly. I wonder what, I don't even know. I think they're giving out rolls and I missed it.
Thank you for your time.
Are you welcome?
Thank you so much. What's your name again?
Ruth.
Ruth.